The door to Captain Reynolds' office slammed shut behind Charlotte, sealing her inside with the one secret that could end everything. Effective immediately, you and Officer Karter are to pose as a married couple for the undercover operation at Oakridge Estates, the captain said, sliding the file across his desk without a trace of doubt. Charlotte's stomach dropped. The woman she had loved in stolen moments for 2 years was now officially her wife on paper, and no one in the department knew how dangerously real that label already felt. She walked out on legs that barely held her, badge heavy against her chest, mind racing through every lie she would have to tell her parents back in suburban Illinois. The Hayes family still believed their only daughter was the perfect straight cop, who would one day marry a nice man and give them grandchildren. One whisper of the truth and the Sunday dinners, the church pews, the proud handshakes at department barbecues would vanish forever. Karter was waiting in the locker room, dark hair pulled into a tight ponytail, green eyes scanning Charlotte's face the moment she entered. "You look like you just got handed a death sentence," she murmured, voice low enough that the other officers changing shifts wouldn't hear. Charlotte forced a laugh that sounded hollow even to her own ears. "Maybe I did. We're married now, Karter. Official department cover. We move into the Oakridge house tomorrow." Carter's expression shifted from teasing to something sharper, almost hungry. "Then let's make it count." That night they drove separate cars to the safe house the department had prepared, a modest 2-story on a quiet cul-de-sac designed to look like any happy suburban marriage. Inside, the walls were already wired for surveillance, but the bedroom door closed behind them, and for one brief moment the cameras didn't matter. Karter pulled Charlotte close, foreheads touching. "We can do this," she whispered. "We've been doing it for 2 years already." Charlotte nodded, but the knot in her chest tightened. 2 years of motel rooms and late-night texts was nothing compared to 24/7 performance in front of superiors who would be checking in daily. The next morning the moving truck arrived. Neighbors waved from porches. Charlotte smiled and waved back while Karter carried boxes labeled Mr. and Mrs. Hayes-Mills in bold black marker. By noon the captain had called twice to confirm their cover story was holding. By evening Charlotte's mother had texted, "Heard from Aunt Linda you got a new partner on a big case. Bring her to dinner Sunday." Charlotte stared at the screen until the letters blurred. One dinner. One slip. Everything could burn. The first week of the operation passed in a blur of scripted affection. They held hands at neighborhood block parties, kissed lightly on the cheek when the department's unmarked car cruised by, laughed at each other's jokes loud enough for the microphones hidden in the kitchen vent to catch every syllable. At night, behind the closed bedroom door, the kisses grew longer, deeper, real. Karter's fingers traced the scar on Charlotte's collarbone from a domestic call gone wrong last year. "I hate pretending when I already mean it," she said one night, voice thick. Charlotte closed her eyes and didn't answer. Then came the first crack. Captain Reynolds scheduled a surprise check-in dinner at their house, bringing his own wife and a bottle of wine. Charlotte's hands shook while she set the table. Karter noticed, squeezed her knee under the cloth. "Breathe. We've got this." The evening went perfectly until Reynolds raised his glass. "To the best married team I've ever run. You two make it look easy." Charlotte smiled so hard her jaw ached. Inside, the words felt like knives. Easy. If only he knew how many nights she lay awake wondering which lie would finally break her. Sunday arrived too fast. Charlotte's parents drove 2 hours from their quiet neighborhood, her father in his usual polo shirt, mother clutching a casserole like a shield. The moment they stepped inside the Oakridge house, Charlotte felt the air change. Her mother's eyes lingered on the wedding photo the department had staged on the mantel. Charlotte in a simple white dress, Karter in a tailored suit, both smiling like the happiest couple alive. "Well," her mother said, voice tight, "this is modern." Karter played the part flawlessly, refilling glasses, laughing at her father's bad jokes. But Charlotte caught the flicker in her mother's gaze every time Karter's hand brushed her lower back. By the time dessert was served, the questions started. "So how long have you two been together?" her father asked. Charlotte froze. The official story was 6 months. The truth was 2 years. She opened her mouth and the wrong number almost slipped out. Karter saved her. "Officially 6 months, sir. But it feels like forever." Later, alone in the kitchen, Charlotte's mother cornered her. "She seems nice. But honey, are you sure this is what you want? The family's been talking." Aunt Linda saw the moving truck. People are asking questions. Charlotte's pulse hammered. Mom, it's just work. The words tasted like ash. Her mother studied her for a long second. Work doesn't look at you the way that woman does. That night after her parents left, Charlotte sat on the edge of the bed, head in her hands. Karter knelt in front of her. You almost told them the truth. Charlotte shook her head. I can't. You don't understand what it would do to them. Karter's eyes hardened, the first real fracture appearing between them. And I don't understand what it's doing to us. The operation continued, but the easy rhythm was gone. Every public kiss now carried the weight of Charlotte's growing panic. Every whispered I love you behind closed doors felt stolen. And somewhere in the suburbs, her mother had started calling more often, asking questions that dug deeper each time. Charlotte could feel the walls closing in. The choice she had dreaded since the captain's office looming closer with every sunrise. The second week brought the first real test. The department's target, a mid-level money launderer living 3 houses down, threw a neighborhood barbecue. Attendance was mandatory for cover. Charlotte stood at the grill flipping burgers beside Karter, their matching wedding bands glinting in the sun. Captain Reynolds watched from the patio, nodding approval. Across the yard, Charlotte's cousin Tyler had shown up unannounced, invited by her mother just to say hi. Tyler's eyes narrowed the moment he saw Karter's arm slide around Charlotte's waist. So this is the famous wife, he said, voice dripping skepticism. Charlotte laughed too loud. Yep. Karter, meet my cousin. Karter extended a hand, calm as ever. But later, when Tyler pulled Charlotte aside near the cooler, the mask slipped. Your mom's worried. Says you're acting different. This whole marriage thing, work or not, people are talking Char. Dad's already praying about it at church. Charlotte's stomach twisted. She glanced back at Karter, who was laughing with the target's wife, playing the perfect spouse. It's temporary, she lied. Tyler shook his head. Temporary doesn't explain the way you look at her. That night the argument in the safe house was quiet but vicious. You froze again, Karter said, voice low so the microphones wouldn't catch the real emotion. One more slip and this whole op collapses. And us with it. Charlotte paced the bedroom. My family is already suspicious. If I come out now, they'll disown me before the case even closes. Karter's jaw tightened. So I'm the dirty little secret again. Great. The next morning Charlotte woke to a text from her mother. Pastor wants to meet your new friend. Sunday service. Don't say no. She deleted it before Karter could see. The operation demanded they attend a department briefing that afternoon. Reynolds laid out new intel. The target was hosting a private dinner party in 2 weeks, couples only. You two need to sell this marriage harder than ever. Hold hands, finish each other's sentences, the works. Charlotte nodded like a good soldier, but inside she was screaming. That evening they practiced in front of the living room mirror. Karter's hand on Charlotte's hip, Charlotte leaning into her shoulder, the exact angle the hidden cameras would catch. The reflection looked perfect. The reality felt like drowning. Later, when the lights were off, Karter pulled Charlotte close anyway. I'm scared too, she admitted into the dark. But I'd rather lose the badge than lose you. Charlotte didn't answer. She was too busy calculating how many more lies she could tell before the weight crushed her. The following Sunday she drove alone to her parents' house. Karter stuck at the station for mandatory range time. Her mother greeted her at the door with a tight smile. Pastor's in the living room. He's very interested in this new chapter of your life. The conversation that followed was a masterclass in careful wording. Charlotte stuck to the cover story, but the pastor's questions grew pointed. Same-sex marriage is legal, of course, but have you considered how this affects your eternal soul? Charlotte's father stared at the carpet. Her mother watched her daughter's face like a hawk. When Charlotte finally escaped to the car, she sat in the driveway for 10 minutes with the engine running, tears burning her eyes. Karter was waiting when she got home, takeout tie on the table, concern etched across her features. How bad? Charlotte dropped her keys. Bad enough that my mother asked if I was confused. Karter reached for her, but Charlotte stepped back. Don't. Not right now. The rejection hung in the air like smoke. Karter's voice went flat. Fine. Keep pushing me away. See how long I let you. The fracture widened. The next day at work they barely spoke. At the safe house they moved like ghosts around each other. The department noticed nothing. The microphones only caught polite conversation. But Charlotte felt every inch of distance like a wound. She had always known the job was dangerous. She had never imagined the greatest threat would be her own fear. By the third week the operation had teeth. The target invited them to the private dinner party. Reynolds called it the make-or-break night. Sell the marriage. Get close. We need access to his study. Charlotte spent the afternoon choosing an outfit that screamed suburban wife while her stomach churned. Karter watched her from the doorway, arms crossed. You've barely looked at me since Sunday. Charlotte zipped her dress with shaking fingers. I'm trying to keep us both alive. Karter's laugh was bitter. By pretending I don't exist the second your family calls? Real healthy char. The party was held at the target's sprawling backyard. String lights twinkled. Charlotte and Karter arrived hand in hand, smiles locked in place. The target's wife pulled Charlotte aside almost immediately. You two are adorable. How did you meet? Charlotte recited the rehearsed story while her eyes tracked Karter across the patio. Her partner was laughing with the target himself, playing the charming wife to perfection. For one terrifying second Charlotte wondered if Karter was enjoying the performance more than she should. Then her phone buzzed. Her mother. She stepped into the shadows to answer. Charlotte, your cousin saw pictures from the barbecue on Facebook. He says you and that woman looked intimate. Your father is beside himself. Charlotte's voice cracked. Mom, it's work. Please. Her mother's sigh carried decades of disappointment. Work doesn't kiss you like that. Come home tomorrow. We need to talk as a family. The line went dead. Back at the table, Karter noticed the change instantly. Under the cloth her fingers found Charlotte's and squeezed once. Code for I'm here. But Charlotte pulled away, terrified the target would notice. The rest of the evening passed in a haze of forced laughter and careful glances. When they finally drove home, the silence in the car was suffocating. Inside the safe house, Karter exploded. You pulled away from me in front of the target. You could have blown the entire operation. Charlotte whirled on her. My mother knows. My whole family is about to know. I can't keep pretending this is fake when it's destroying my life. Karter's eyes flashed. Destroying your life? I've been in love with you for 2 years and you still treat me like a dirty secret the second your parents sniff around. Maybe I'm the one who should walk away. The words landed like punches. Charlotte stood frozen while Karter stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. For the first time since the operation began, Charlotte cried. Great silent sobs that shook her entire body. She had always thought love would be the thing that saved her. Now it felt like the thing that would ruin her. The next morning Reynolds called them both into the station. Intel says the target is getting suspicious. You two need to turn up the heat. Public displays, social media posts, the works. Make it look real. Charlotte nodded numbly. Karter didn't look at her. On the drive back they didn't speak. At the house, Karter opened her laptop and posted a staged photo of them kissing on the front porch. Time-stamped for the department's monitoring team. The caption read, Forever starts here. Charlotte stared at the screen and felt her entire world tilt. That afternoon her father called. We saw the picture. Your mother won't stop crying. Come home tonight. Alone. Charlotte hung up and looked at Karter, who was watching her with something close to resignation. I have to go, Charlotte whispered. Karter's voice was quiet steel. If you walk out that door and deny us, don't expect me to be here when you get back. Charlotte drove to Illinois with the radio off and her heart in her throat. The family living room smelled like lemon polish and fear. Her parents sat on the couch like judges, her mother clutching a tissue, her father staring at the floor. We raised you better, he said the moment she sat down. This arrangement. It's not you. Charlotte's throat closed. She had rehearsed a dozen versions of the truth on the drive over. None of them felt safe. It's just work, she repeated, the lie now so familiar it tasted like metal. Her mother shook her head. We saw the picture. The way she looks at you. Charlotte, if you're confused we can get you help. The word confused landed like a slap. Charlotte's hands clenched until her nails cut half-moons into her palms. She thought of Karter alone in the safe house, waiting for a decision that would either save or destroy them both. I'm not confused, she said, voice cracking. I love her. The room went deathly still. Her father stood up slowly. Then you're choosing her over this family. It wasn't a question. She left before the shouting started. On the drive back, her phone stayed silent. No texts from Karter, no calls from the department. When she pulled into the driveway at 2 a.m, the house was dark. She let herself in and found Karter sitting on the couch, suitcase packed beside her. I'm done waiting for you to choose me, Karter said without looking up. Charlotte dropped her keys. I told them I love you. Karter finally met her eyes, pain and hope warring there. And Charlotte sank onto the coffee table. They want me to choose. Family or you. Karter's laugh was hollow. Classic. And what did you say? The silence stretched until Charlotte whispered. I walked out. Karter stood, crossed the room and pulled her into a fierce hug. For the first time in weeks the embrace felt honest. But the relief lasted only until morning. Reynolds was waiting at the station with new orders. Target's throwing an anniversary party for himself and his wife. You two are the guests of honor. We need you in the study by midnight. Charlotte nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. Her mother had left 3 voicemails overnight, each more desperate than the last. Come home. We can fix this. That night they dressed in matching navy outfits the department had provided. Karter fastened Charlotte's necklace with steady fingers. Whatever happens tonight, I've got your back. Charlotte leaned into the touch. I know. But the fear was still there. A living thing coiled in her chest. The party was loud and lavish. They danced under crystal chandeliers. Bodies pressed close for the cameras and for each other. At 11:30 Karter gave the signal. Charlotte slipped upstairs while Karter distracted the target with a story about their honeymoon. The study door was unlocked. Charlotte moved quickly, photographing documents, copying files to a hidden drive. Her heart hammered so loud she was sure someone would hear. She was almost finished when her phone vibrated. Her mother calling again. The screen lit up in the dark room. Charlotte silenced it, but the distraction cost her. Footsteps in the hallway. She barely had time to hide the drive before the door opened and the Target security guard stepped in. What are you doing in here? Charlotte smiled the sweetest wife smile she could manage. Looking for the bathroom. Wrong door. The guard didn't buy it. He reached for his radio. In that split second Charlotte made a choice. She stepped forward, kissed the guard on the cheek like a tipsy suburban wife and laughed. Sorry, too much champagne. The guard relaxed, chuckled and let her go. Back downstairs Karter's eyes asked 1,000 questions. Charlotte squeezed her hand once, mission accomplished. They left 20 minutes later with the evidence and the weight of another close call. In the car Karter finally spoke. Your mom called me too. She left a message begging me to let you go. Charlotte gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles whitened. I'm not letting anyone take you from me. But the words felt fragile against the storm building at home. The evidence from the study cracked the case wide open. Reynolds called them into his office the next morning with rare praise. 2 weeks and we've got enough to arrest. You two are legends. He clapped them both on the shoulder. Take the weekend off. You've earned it. Charlotte smiled, but the victory tasted like ash. Her phone had 20 missed calls from her family. Karter noticed the way her hand trembled when she silenced it again. They drove back to the safe house in silence. Once inside, Karter turned to her. The op is almost over. We don't have to pretend anymore. Charlotte looked at the wedding bands they still wore. But my family, Karter took her hands. Your family doesn't get to decide who you love. For the first time Charlotte let herself believe it. They spent the afternoon in bed. Not as fake wives but as 2 women who had fought for every second together. The kisses were slow, deliberate. Full of everything they hadn't been allowed to say out loud. Sunday morning the peace shattered. Charlotte's father showed up at the Oakridge house unannounced, face thunderous. Your mother is in the hospital. Stress. She says it's your fault. The words hit like bullets. Charlotte grabbed her keys. Karter tried to follow but Charlotte stopped her at the door. I have to do this alone. Karter's eyes filled with tears. If you go back there and let them guilt you into leaving me, we're done. I mean it this time. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and regret. Her mother lay pale against the pillows, her father standing guard. You see what your choices are doing, he said the moment Charlotte entered. Her mother reached out a weak hand. Just come home, baby. Leave that woman. We can pretend none of this happened. Charlotte looked at the two people who had raised her, loved her, shaped her entire world. Then she thought of Karter waiting at the house, suitcase still packed from the night before. I can't pretend anymore, she said quietly. I love her. And I'm not giving her up. Her father's face crumpled. Then don't come back. Not until you've come to your senses. Her mother turned her face to the wall and cried. Charlotte walked out of the room feeling like she had torn her own heart out. She drove straight back to Oak Ridge. Karter was on the porch, suitcase beside her. Charlotte got out of the car and didn't stop walking until she was in Karter's arms. I chose you, she whispered against her neck. Karter held her so tight it hurt. Then we face whatever comes next together. The department called the next day. The target was in custody. The operation was officially over. They could move out of the safe house. But the real battle had just begun. Charlotte's family had already started spreading the word. Cousins, aunts, church friends. Her badge suddenly felt heavier. Whispers followed her in the station. Reynolds pulled her aside. Personal life is your business, but if it affects the job, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. 2 weeks later, Charlotte stood in the empty safe house, keys in hand, the last box taped shut. Karter waited by the moving truck, sunlight catching the simple gold band she had refused to take off. Ready? Karter asked. Charlotte looked around the house that had been both prison and sanctuary. Yeah, let's go home. They found a small apartment downtown, far from suburban eyes and family expectations. The first night they hung their wedding photo, the real one Karter had taken on her phone the night they admitted the marriage had never been fake, above the couch. Charlotte's mother still called once a week, leaving voicemails that alternated between anger and pleading. Her father hadn't spoken to her since the hospital. The department had reassigned her to a desk job, for now. Whispers about the lesbian cop who broke her family followed her everywhere. Yet every evening Karter came home, kissed her like the world outside didn't exist, and Charlotte felt the pieces of herself knitting back together. One night, curled on the couch with takeout containers between them, Karter asked the question they had both been avoiding. Was it worth it? Charlotte looked at the woman who had risked everything beside her and answered without hesitation. Every single second. But the cost was real. Family dinners she would never attend again. Nieces and nephews who might grow up believing their aunt was broken. A career that might never recover its shine. Some nights the grief hit so hard she couldn't breathe. Karter held her through every wave, never asking her to choose again. 6 months after the operation ended, Charlotte received a letter from her mother. Inside was a single photo of the family at Christmas. Everyone smiling except the empty chair where Charlotte used to sit. On the back her mother had written, "We still love you. When you're ready to come home, the door is open. Just not with her." Charlotte read it twice, then folded it neatly and placed it in the drawer with the other unsent replies. She walked to the kitchen where Karter was making coffee. "I'm ready to stop hiding," Charlotte said. Karter turned, surprise and pride mixing in her eyes. "You sure?" Charlotte nodded. "No more fake anything. Ever." They posted the first real photo that weekend. Both in uniform, arms around each other, smiling without shame. The comments were a storm of support and hate, but Charlotte didn't read them. She turned off her phone and kissed Karter in the middle of their tiny living room, sunlight streaming through the blinds. For the first time in her life she felt completely terrifyingly free. The price had been steep. The truth had cost her the family she had once thought she couldn't live without. But looking at the woman beside her, Charlotte knew she had paid it willingly. Some loves were worth every scar they left behind. True or false? Protecting your family's honor is always worth more than living your truth?